Here we're picking up on page 254 where it says create a new curtain system type. We're going to begin this by selecting the curtain system type that's already on the front of the building. I need to make sure that I get the whole system selected and not just one grid line. And I know I've got it because it says curtain system 5 by 10. We're going to change all this. So let's go to edit type, duplicate system, and we're going to rename this thing. The book has us called it front facade. We're going to make a pretty special system out of this. So go ahead and click OK to that. And we're going to go to the grouping beneath construction grouping right here, and it says none. We're going to change that to beneath construction grouping, choose system panel glaze for the curtain panel. So we got to pull this down, system panel, it's glazed to system panel. And then change the joint condition to the grid 2 is continuous. Okay, and then we're going to add mullions directly to this system. So where it says verify the layout type is set to fixed distance right here, we're going to make sure that's true and set the spacing to 11 feet instead of 10. And then under grid pattern 2, we're going to set our spacing to 12 feet as a fixed distance also. Okay, and we're going to go ahead and apply those changes. Go ahead and click OK, and you can see what happens to the front of that facade. We get, and it may be easiest to see if we're like in the south elevation. And what we'll need to do is going to hide some extra data here. We get a lot of stuff we don't need to look at. For example, all these levels, all these column grid lines, and these sections. We can hide all of that stuff. So let's right click on one of these and just say hide in view category, and then right click on one of these, hide in view, say category. And then what I'm going to do with all these level heads, they're just sort of annoying to me graphically, so I'm going to select one and just grab them and pull them all back to here. Okay, and that lets me see that curtain system a little bit better. So you can see I've got this 11 foot by 12 foot grid. 12 foot's great because that's the height of my levels. So my grid line ends right on the level, which is fantastic. One more thing we need to do here is we need to center this. What we can see is over on the side, this is a little tiny bit of glass, and over here we've got a full panel. What we really want to do is center this system. So again, I'm going to select the system. I have to get it by grabbing the edge, and I'm going to go to edit type. Oh no, I don't even have to edit the type. I can just say justify for the grid pattern 1 to the center. When I apply that, see, that'll jump it over. Now I've got like a half panel on both sides, and then I'm centered right inside this spread of this thing. We're going to do some special work here on these mullions. We need one that covers the entire thickness of the floor, so we're going to have an extra large mullion in there. I'm going to go down, let me collapse some of these views here, and I'm going to go down to collapse a whole bunch of these views here. I don't really need to look at sheets at all. I'm going to expand families, and I'm going to go down to where it talks about the mullions, the curtain wall mullions, and I'm going to select the rectangular mullions. So curtain wall mullions is here, and I'm going to say rectangular mullion. Open that up. And what I want to do is select this one that's 2.5 by 5 inches right here. I'm going to right click. I'm going to choose duplicate. It's going to make a brand new one, and I'm going to call this one spandrel. So this is going to span over the floor thickness. So I can open that up now. If I select that, I can see what spandrel is, and I'm going to make a few changes. All these changes are discussed here in the book, and I'm not going to go into all these details, but you should take a moment to read that. In the type properties, I'm going to say the thickness is going to be not 5 inches. I need to edit this type, sorry. I need to say type properties here, and then I can edit this. Instead of 5 inches, I'm going to change that to say 1 foot. And then I'm going to change for the width on side 1 and width on side 2. I'm going to put those at 1 foot also instead of 1¼ inches. I'm going to say 1 foot and 1 foot. So this is a pretty big spandrel. It's going to be 2 feet thick and 1 foot deep. And so when we apply that, it's going to cover up our floor thicknesses. Okay. And then what I'll do is I'm going to select the system. I need to make sure I get the entire system. It might be easier in 3D. I'm going to go ahead and select that system and edit the type of this, and for the grid, on the grid line, the mullions for grid line 1, I'm going to change those to be rectangular mullion. Grid line 2, I'm going to change that to say interior type rectangular mullion spandrel, because that's the one we just made right here. And then, I'm going to, for each of the mullion types, I'm going to do it again for border type 1 and 2. So all my horizontal systems. And so now you can see I've got the one at the top, the one in the middle, and the one at the bottom. If we look at this in 3D, you can see those large spandrels now are going all the way around the system. So those are not walls, those are not trim, they're part of this wall system called a mullion. And that's how those pieces got defined. Going to come in and do almost exactly the same thing for the vertical mullions. So I'm going to right click here, say duplicate, I'm going to rename this. They want to call it, what do they want to call it? Pier mullions. And then I'm going to go ahead and select that. I'm going to say type properties. For my pier mullions, the profile is going to start with a rectangular. The thickness is going to be 1 foot, but both of these are going to change to 6 inches instead of 1 foot. So 0.5, tab 0.5, and say OK. And then over here for the, I'm going to go over, and after selecting this, I'm going to go over and say edit type, and I'm going to change the interior of grid mullion 1 to those new piers that we just created. Apply that and say OK. We can see that looks pretty good, except that now the piers are acting kind of funny when they come to the joints. So to fix this, what I need to do is go back into edit type, and what I need to do is say that the grid 2 is continuous and border and grid 2 is both contiguous. So I apply that, and you can see now that fixes up my grids kind of nice so that they go there where they're supposed to. So as it turned out, I made my mast just a little bit smaller than I was supposed to. It should go up all the way to the roof. So I'm going to do a couple things here to fix that up so we can make the next adjustments to our drawing. I'm going to hide this curtain system, hide in view elements, and I'm going to hide the roof, hide in view elements. I still have my mast turned on. If you don't, you can always go to mass in sight and say show mass and floors up here, but I've already got mine turned on. What's wrong is my top of this is supposed to come up to the 4th level. So I'm going to go ahead and do a new alignment here. I need to be able to see my level. So I'm going to say AL, align to level 4, this surface. Oops, I guess it's aligned to roof, this surface. What's going on here? Come on now. AL, align to level 4, this surface. I guess it's already lining up to level 4. Then go up to level roof, this surface. There it goes. That's where we want it, up to the roof. Okay, so that's so that I can get my my curtain wall to show some tricks there that we need to deal with. So I'm going to go back in here and unhide those elements now. Unhide this, unhide in view the curtain system, and now I'll get the roof and say unhide in view category for that too, and the object unhide in view elements is what I meant to say. And so now I need to rematch those things back to the it looks like I hid the roof, and I'm just not doing it as well as I should today. So let's go ahead and get this. unhide in view, category, and then get this, unhide in view, elements. Okay, now, there we go. So now what I need to do is catch those surfaces back up to their original. So this thing is say edit to face, update to face, and I'm going to grab this thing, and I'm also going to say update to face. The curtain wall system does propagate across there. The problem is that when we go look at our south view, when we go look at our elevation from the south, we can see that some of these spandrels line up nicely with their levels and others don't. So we can see like the spandrel here on the two levels, they look great. This one actually looks fine too, but the one on the roof, it's a little low. It doesn't really cover up what it's supposed to. So that's our next trick to fix. And in this case, we're basically going to do exactly the same operation we just did. So let's go back over to the 3D view. Is going to be the easiest way to get there. And we're just going to raise the mass 1 unit taller and lower it 1 unit shorter, and that's going to bring this down to cover up the floor and the other piece up here to cover up the roof correctly. In order to do this well, the easiest thing to do is going to be to hide that roof again. So I'm going to, and the curtain system, so I'm just going to hide in view that element again. I'm going to grab that mass element, click that top surface, and I want to get rid of the roof too, so let's go ahead and hide the roof too. Hide in view, elements, and we need to edit this mass. So I'm going to double click it. I'm going to click the top surface of the mass. Might have to hit tab to get that top surface. And you can see over here there's some temporary dimensions. I'm going to change this one to say 37. Now remember, I've got the top selected, so when I hit enter, it's going to make the top move in order to accommodate that 37 feet. I'm going to do the same at the bottom. I'm going to rotate this down so I can grab that bottom surface. I have to hit tab a couple times to make sure I just get the one surface. And then I'm going to change this temporary dimension to say 38. And remember, since I have the bottom selected, it's going to push that bottom surface down to make that true. Now we can finish the mass. We're out of the mass element. I can go back to unhide these two pieces. I'm going to unhide the curtain wall system, select it, right click, unhide in view, category, unhide in view elements is what I want to say. Elements, and then I want to get, I didn't get it, still didn't get it, because it'll go gray when I do unhide in view category. There we go. Okay, and then I also need to get the roof piece. Now the roof is kind of hidden inside all this stuff. I need to tab, got it, and then right click, unhide in view elements, and then I can go back. Now I need to rematch those back to my surface. So I'm going to have to tab down, grab the roof. I'm going to say, oops, I didn't get the roof, I got the mass. You get in there and get the roof. Tab, that one. Update to face, and then this one here. Select it, update to face. And now we can see we're better off. Now what happened here is we have a double mullion up here. This happened because we have our spacing at 12 feet, but it's a 38-foot wall, so we have 2 extra feet in our system. And what we need to do is shift our system up along this grid. So we did this before a few moments ago, and we did it with some temporary dimensions. This time I'm going to select the system. I'm going to go to Edit Type. So I didn't get it. Get the system. There we go. And I can go down here to where it says Grid 2, and instead of, it'll justify from the beginning with an offset though of, I believe it'll take 1 foot, and then it should update that, and that looks better. You can see everything's adjusted, which is how it should be. Unfortunately, Revit has tricked us into thinking we're done. There are actually, however, 2 separate mullions in this location, and here's why. There is a curtain system that runs at the border of our, there's a curtain system that runs 12 foot on center, and that's what we offset, 12 inches. So we started at 38 negative here and came up to 0. Starting counting down here, we moved up 1 foot, then we went 12 feet, 12 feet, 12 feet, then we moved down 1 foot. But we also have a border pattern on these, and so what we need to do is come in here one last time, edit this type, and we need to say that it's only grid 2, and not at the borders. So where it says border type with the spandrel, we're going to change that back to none, and that's going to mean that we only have one at the top and bottom. Some of the mullions have become non-type driven. I'm going to delete those mullions and say OK, and now there's only a single mullion at the top, a single mullion at the bottom, and they're all spaced out evenly.